Yeah. Where's Jason?
I don't know. I want her to ask.
No, I don't care. It doesn't matter. We got a quorum. Not yet. I've got this. No, I can just do it from here. I don't know.
I meant the little thing,
What?
the little round, the square.
No, I don't need it. See,
I don't think you did.
I can beat it on this.
Yeah.
Lawton is not coming, he is sick.
Uh-oh, uh-oh. Two minutes.
We have a meeting Thursday.
Next week.
Thursday.
I think, is it, no, I think it's the 10th or the 11th or something, isn't it? Our finance committee meeting?
I think it's the 12th.
12th,
Is it the 12th? Yeah.
next Thursday.
Don't you two confuse me now. Yeah.
My calendar,
Don't confuse you.
yeah, my calendar is really full already for October.
So is mine.
Is Macy all ready for homecoming then? You guys got her dress already?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tenino City Council work session, Tuesday, September 26th. Doesn't look like there's a lot on the agenda. In fact, there's not a lot in the work session at all, so let's just start with reports. And I have George's report. The Arch Committee announced the Creative District Banner Project unveiling and artist reception is Saturday, September 30th, 11 a.m. at the Creative District sign by Heddens. Then the artist reception at City Hall. Next chamber meeting, October 18th, noon at the Sandstone Cafe, has Jeff Bowe from giving the Experience Olympia and Beyond update. Then Wednesday, October 18th at 6 p.m. at the Kodiak Rooms is the Candidates Forum. EDC board meeting is tomorrow, and the Real Estate Forum is at the Olympia Hotel on Thursday at 11 a.m. SETI meeting is October 20th. The location has not been decided yet. Well, that takes care of that. South Thurston Fire District.
Nothing to report. It was a dull meeting.
Okay, it was a dull meeting. Linda's not here from the museum, and Jessica's not here for the museum, and I don't see Jody or anybody from the food bank.
I can give a minor report for Jody.
Okay,
For the food bank, they had got some USDA funds, and I don't know if she wants me to report this, but I'm going to anyway. Transparency. They got some funding. They had someone come out and look at everything. The lights are not up to code in there. They're exposed bulbs right now in the warehouse, and it's our building. So they had an electrician come out. We had an electrician come out. We're working on some bids right now, and we're working on an MOU that will, the food bank will pay for the new light replacement to be up to code. And then we will, instead of reimbursement, we will take it out of their rent via
Okay.
the MOU. So that's what the attorney, we're waiting for another quote to come back from an electrician. So that's probably on the next council meeting.
okay, thank you.
Was there someone else besides Jody?
Just museum, have you got anything for the museum?
Nothing.
Uh,
Security cameras are going in this week at the museum, which is very exciting. We
Yay.
got a loss prevention grant from AWC, so some security over there
That's
finally.
good.
Yes,
Good.
it's good stuff.
Facade Improvement Grant Review Committee, actually no report. There was one application sent in, but there were no receipts with it, and I am checking on that with the person who sent it. No, Finance Committee meeting is October 12th. Planning Commission meeting, do you have any report on them?
Dan Penrose, city planner's here.
I know.
I don't know what he's gonna present, maybe all he has to update, but there may be.
Well, he might have something else. Hi, Dan.
Hey everyone, good evening.
Is that on? I think I turned it off, sorry.
Good evening, Dan Penrose, City Planner. At the last Planning Commission meeting, we presented the opportunity for a climate resilience grant, which is came out of the legislature. The Department of Commerce is administering those grants. Essentially, there's a requirement now through the Growth Management Act to include a climate chapter in your comprehensive plan. And so really I was presenting the details of that grant opportunity, as well as asking the Planning Commission about timing, about whether we should incorporate that into the current periodic update effort, or whether it should be deferred and delayed, which Commerce does allow depending on your adoption cycle. So the Planning Commission felt that it was appropriate to roll that into the periodic update effort, which is just now getting kicked off. The Department of Commerce grant for the periodic update was submitted, I believe, last week, and we should get the award notice on that any day, and then start the about just shy 2-year process to update the comp plan.
Okay.
What is that going to do and cost this city for that new addition?
The climate resiliency grant comes with its own grant funding,
That's
and
just for now. Once it's implemented, what's it going to cost the city? What's it going to cost our citizens? How much taxes are we going to have to raise to implement this?
yeah, council member, I'm not quite sure about that. I guess I'm not sure. In fact, I know the legislature didn't work all the way through all the vagaries of the implementation for the climate resiliency piece. Even though they have a fiscal note, it's hard to apply that across the state and know what the costs are. There are, it's a requirement, so it's really.
I understand it, but,
yeah.
But with that requirement on their end, we should have these numbers for our citizens, since we have to pay for it year in and year out. We don't know what that requirement is actually going to cost us. And I think that's extremely important, especially for a city of this size. And over here, we have projections that Tenino is only going to grow to about 27, maybe 2,800 people. That's a very small area. And when you're talking about climate resiliency, you're talking about very large dollars. And we don't know what those are. Until we know what those are, I would actually suggest that we hold that part off separately until those answers can be done. Otherwise, we're just committing our citizens to a blank check. And I have a real hard time with that.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. If it sounded a little bit passionate, it wasn't against you.
Okay. Chief of Police,
No report.
Director of Public Works,
No report.
and City Planner, Code Enforcement, Building Inspector.
No report.
Did you say no report?
No report from
Okay. Park Specialist, she's not here. Clerk Treasurer.
Sure. Been working a lot on the budget. We're going to another budget conference on the 12th and 13th. So looking forward to that. It's grant season, so Jessica, Maria, Rana, everyone at City Hall, and Dan have been helpful. We've got grants everywhere being applied for, so we're getting it. It's working out good.
Jason's out ill, so there's no BDAT report. Solid Waste Advisory Board.
next week?
TCOM 911, nothing. Tenino School Board.
So last night at the council meeting, it was school board meeting, the other one. Last night at the meeting, it was actually really fun to see. It was very student heavy. So my son was included in it, but 8 of the seniors were recognized for volunteering at CISPAS as counselors for 3 years in a row. And so that was really special to see that they got recognition for that and just made them feel special.
Yeah.
You know, because it is a lot of work to be a CISPAS counselor, but it's fun too at the same time. They also announced their new student representative, and her name is Ellie Chance. She's a junior at the high school. And for the first year ever, they're actually going to have an alternate representative, and that's Bryn Williams. She's also a junior this year. I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the Tenino Cross Country. It's their team, but they're also individual. They do their individual runs, and so because they did place Tenino 3rd in our division for the girls and 5th in our division, or 4th in our division for the boys. So Sam Smith came in 3rd for the girls' easy course. Tristan Von Bargen, he came in 5th for the boys. Haley Huber came in 7th. Carter Mounts came in 9th, and Bryn Williams came in 9th for the hard course, and that's the one that has the mud run in it. So because of that, they put Tenino in that bracket. So that's pretty amazing for them.
How long is their run now? Mine was 3. I did cross country and track.
I don't know how long the run is.
Okay.
But I know that there was 3 different courses. There was the easy, the moderate, and the hard one, and that's the mud one. And so Bryn did the hard one, and that was her 9th, and Carter also did the challenge one too. So homecoming game is going to be October 6th. We're playing Hoquiam, and that's also the homecoming court comes out, and the dance is that Saturday. And I think that's all I have for Tenino.
You're playing my old alma mater, Hoquiam.
Oh.
That's where I graduated.
So what colors are you wearing?
I'm not going.
You can watch it online. But exciting things for our students for sure.
TRPC.
I reported last time that we were waiting for stuff from TPB to move forward with our 4-year plan. TPB just approved it, so it goes back to TRPC at our next meeting for a final adoption.
And you just reported for TPB. Thank
Just
you.
did.
And legislature starts January 2nd, or I go back to work January 2nd, so January 9th.
So we can all come up and give you a hard time, right?
You can do what to who?
We can all come up and give you a hard
Oh,
time.
no.
That, like a kid's first day at school.
Yeah, right. Okay, we've got how many minutes? 18? 19 minutes. Take a little break. Take a minute break.
Yeah.
Coming for the free donuts, Elaine? There's donuts. Donuts and,
George sent me an invitation,
Oh,
and
good.
I told him
and you
I
said donuts, I'm there.
No, I didn't see anything about donuts. No, not on
Latin
my
donuts?
invitation, there was no donut
Well,
mentioned.
I have an inside scoop that there's gonna be Latin donuts and cider.
Are they twisted donuts?
No, they're just those little apple cider ones they do.
Oh.
They're the best donuts of all time.
You're not gonna be here.
No, I'm not.
Are they from
Latin?
Latins?
Yeah.
Are they Latin ciders?
Yeah, you know the little apple cider ones, they have like cinnamon sugar all over them?
Mm-hmm. I like the plain ones.
You do?
It's just cinnamon.
What? And you're going away?
Yeah, I'm going to Colorado for a couple days, so I'll be back on Saturday. Not in time for that, unfortunately. Hopefully someone goes live on Facebook and I can watch it.
Yeah. There
So
you
there
go.
must be
Okay, so we need another grant for that then.
Yeah. They're working on one for park.
We needed a grant, terrible thing. But you know what? That when they said the land here, what was it?
Comp plan. Yeah. It was on there.
Yeah, it's
The
on there
6-year
for,
street plan. Yeah.
for the 5 or 6 year
Yeah.
street plan. And last time it was done, it was on the 5-year plan, and the 5 years is coming on
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah. Yeah, they put them on there, but it doesn't mean they get touched.
No,
Yeah.
Gotta have
but
the
it
money.
keeps going.
Well, you have to have that, you have to create that 5-year plan, well, that's the thing, street plan. You've got to, that's the law, it says you have to do
Yeah.
that. So-
And every time they do it, that street is thick.
Every time it gets bumped.
Well, it's down that way.
I just think of it like reverse speed bumps, you know? Like reverse speed bumps. Just it slows them down. Cause there's a lot of
Well,
potholes.
if you're going this way and the car's coming at you, well, then you have to stop. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Park Ave every day.
Huh?
Park Street every day. I just go very slow. I go 10 miles an hour.
It's that way. Where at?
All the way, well, I turn down Fifth and then take Park all the way to,
Oh,
all the way to Hodgson.
yeah.
Well, that's pretty wide up there.
It's wide enough, but if the cars come in, you'll get those ones there on the shoulder. They're pretty good. You
Early.
get all that crowder traffic coming in.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit of them, yeah. It's really bad right there though. It's really bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is.
I thought that's probably what it was.
Yeah. Is that called, is that 6?
I think it is 6,
I
yeah.
think it is called 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because 7th is over on Dakota Highway in Houston, connects.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And I'm on 5th.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also, it's one of those things you kind of tell. You take my money, you do it my way. So,
Yeah, I had the finance committee meeting on my calendar at home, but for some reason it didn't get in here. But now I put it in here for October the 12th.
8 AM, 8 or 9, or we can.
I had
the hazard,
10.
9 or 10, yeah.
Is that what it is, 10 o'clock?
yeah, so, we'll talk, I'll be happy to brief you guys some more
10 AM, Finance Committee
on
meeting.
the resiliency side, but it is mandatory.
I knew it was on my calendar at home.
So we have to do it, and the good thing is that we're actually being given money to do it, right? That, it's
Well,
not
that's
just.
the way some of these things just pop up on my
Here's a bunch of
calendar.
stuff, and here's.
Day of the dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't
care.
Is that?
It's not on mine, what kind of calendar do you have?
It automatically comes up on the iPhone.
Something, so.
Rachel, both your kids going to homecoming? Yeah.
And I certainly didn't put it there.
I'm not sure what their plans are, but I know they're going. I'm just avoiding a homecoming proposal every day. She's just like, if some guy comes with a sign. I'm like,
I
get it.
know, that's like the trendy
And
thing.
then
I'd
it's
be
like,
mortified.
vote for blah, 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 vote, like, we didn't do that kind of stuff.
We didn't.
It was just like, if you were next, you got voted for.
Yeah.
And you go around posting what's in here.
Yeah.
And they're doing that, whatever.
Yeah.
What they do these days.
Yeah, well,
A lot of things.
somebody that's
I
going
will
to the
not
homecoming
yeah,
choir,
it's
like goes
lots
around and
of women
solicits to be on homecoming choir.
Yeah.
Vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. It's
Yeah.
like,
I know.
I don't know.
It's just weird.
I was always so like, shy. I don't know. I was so shy in high school. Like so, like I had my friends and I didn't really like, look at me. So if I ever got somebody that brought me a big sign, even if you didn't want to.
Especially like in front of a bunch of people. It's like a thing. Like after your sworn in, yeah. That's what I said. I was like, man, it hurts people's feelings.
Yeah. At the game on Friday, there was a girl that had a sign and some flowers, and she like ran, like when the boys ran out at halftime. She was one of the girls that does the water, and she grabbed her sign and flowers and took it to the top, and I was like, oh, yes.
It's embarrassing.
I don't know if she was asking us for
last year, and then I went to prom with the girls, and I had the best time at prom with my girlfriends. But then they had this whole thing, they go with this big group, and now half the girls got dates, and she's like,
Yeah. That always works
she
out.
may not go. She's like, I just don't know if I can do it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
she got to help pick the homecoming game days. So I thought Adam Sandler Day was like genius.
Yeah. Well, that's fun though. I mean, I get it if she doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, when all your friends that you're going with are now on
Yeah.
dates, what are you gonna be like a third wheel?
Yeah. They're not gonna have any fun anyway.
And you don't want to show up all by
She's like, I just want to go all garden eat all you can eat pasta with my friends.
I know.
In my cute dress.
That's the best time I've ever had with my friends. Because when you go with a guy, it's nerve wracking.
Yeah, and they don't want to
eat
pass
something.
dance. They don't want to dance. They just want to like,
Hang out with their friends, or you know.
Yeah.
You know.
they just want to look at your legs in your dress.
And homecoming is short dresses.
Yeah, because it's
So-
midnight. I know. I got a whole lesson because I'm like, why does it look so long dresses? Because it's formal.
Yeah.
Mine was semi.
Yeah. Alana's going dark green.
So we have two dresses. We bought two dresses. This one was on clearance.
Yeah.
Last year we found her dress at H&M for $14.99, and it was adorable.
Yeah. I'm not about buying expensive dresses.
Yeah.
I'm not. I saved all my dresses from school, but I never had short ones because at homecoming it was never the thing to wear a short dress.
Yeah, no, I know.
So I don't have any short ones.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't wear a short even if it was the thing. I always like the long ones. And apparently sparkles.
Yeah.
A lot of my dresses have sparkles. So
Yeah.
Alana doesn't want to wear 'em.
One at Macy got one with sparkles, but it's like sheds everywhere. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like a strip bug threw up in my house. They're everywhere.
That's what I'm worried about Alana's is it's not sparkles, it's like sequins. And I see we bought it online and I'm really nervous about it. It's supposed to arrive sometime this week.
It's scary.
And I
Because that's what we did with prom, and it was too small. We had to switch it back.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking I might have to just go shopping again.
Good. I'll remove one. That's an mistake. It's not this one. Okay. Yep. I'll check that. It's still rough. There's also a line on page 3, I think, that is just an error. Okay, I don't know why when I print double-sided it goes along. That's irritating. It is under. This one distracted right. Maybe some things are being coded incorrectly, so this is not. This will actually be sent to the receiving tax. It's just getting put here. So then, I mean, quite a few of them will change. Wayne hasn't even looked at these yet. It's only to slap some figures in, and we would go from there. Yeah. Yeah, I do want him to look at pool revenue because I anticipate, you know, it's really hard to know what we're gonna get, but I anticipate we're gonna get really good revenue from that next year. Yeah. Yeah.
Even if the weather is not the best in the world, we're still going to,
Oh, I know.
it's gonna be okay.
And you, like park shelter, well, not park shelter, but Cory House, you know, we didn't start renting until what, May? And we've already done very well, so it's exciting.
Because of all the refunds.
Yeah, 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 and a lot more people are paying to rent the shelters too, which is nice. Yeah, because then they're actually, we put a reserve sign up and deposit back and,
That's
you
great.
know, easy peasy. Scoot.
Okay.
Bye, Joyce. Drive safe.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Those two spots.
Oh, is that from getting your nails done? Oh, okay.
It's just in my joints, it's fluid that builds up in my joints. It gets big enough and then I just poke.
Drains out.
That's very cute. It's arthritis. Arthur is spitting on my joints.
Your nails look
Yeah.
cute.
Well, thank you, Kit, mine too.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
I know.
With stuff like this all the time. And you know, just because we have to doesn't mean we have to like it.
Did I tell you?
I mean,
Chase joined the football team.
You did? Oh.
Yeah, he texted me when I was at cheer practice. He texted me. He's like, "Mom, I got my pads today."
Oh, good for him.
Awesome.
I love that.
Yeah,
Macy's doing volleyball for the first time, like something new. I mean, Chase obviously played, but not since middle school, right? Or
Not since
TCYFL.
TCYFL.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, he played it with Gavin Pitts. That's how they became friends.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So does he still get to do like halftime band or?
Yeah.
Okay.
He'll still do band at halftime. He just got to figure it out for homecoming though, because they're doing like some sort of show at the beginning, like before the court comes out.
Oh.
But then that's when like football's kind of powwowing. So I
She's
don't
kind of an
know.
important part, right?
Something.
Is he the only one?
Football game though.
No. There's soccer of them that play that.
He's the bass.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like if he's not there, then you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so obviously he told
The other
Bright
he
green is
told
kind
him
of
about it,
dedicated nose
and he
structures,
was not.
right?
Because anything that's not banned.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, you better not like zero
I
you
like
out.
when they do stuff like that. It's like, be accommodating to let them do as
Yeah.
many things as they want to do, you know?
Yeah, I am all for kids playing sports
I
because
agree.
guess what? When they're playing sports, they're not out running the streets
Exactly.
or at the
Right,
park doing
right.
stupid
I
stuff.
agree.
They're at practice.
They're staying out of trouble.
Yep.
And they're keeping their grades up because they have to bust their butts on that,
Yeah.
or they can't play. So,
Is she liking volleyball?
yeah, she really likes it. Yeah, she's swinging, so she plays two sets for JV, and then she sits on the bench for varsity if they need her. And
Nice.
yeah, they offered to throw her in last night during varsity, and she was like, never mind.
Is that volleyball?
Yeah.
She didn't go in?
No, the coach goes, do you want to go in? And Macy goes, and she goes, never mind. You have to hesitate. You're not going in. And then I was like, Macy, she's like, I know I choked. But,
Man,
yeah,
it's
it's
relentless.
different. It's a lot of adjusting to watch.
Yeah. I was coming out of the meeting and I heard who is the one that is the announcer?
Huh?
Who's the guy that announces that game?
The volleyball?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Extreme wildfire.
Does someone announce it? Like at the beginning, like their names?
Well, there was one that was doing announcements. Was that volleyball last night?
There was volleyball last night, but I left before varsity started.
Oh my goodness, you should have heard it.
It was bad.
Whoever that guy was, it sounded like a wrestling match. He was like, da, 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 da. When he was like saying their names, it was like a 10-syllable name for Sarah. It was like, Sarah!
Oh my gosh, all I
I didn't peek in there.
Yeah.
I didn't peek in, but I'm like, we need him.
Well, the athletic director was there when I'm trying to think who else was there when I left. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who was announcing it. I'll ask Macy.
Yeah, ask her who was announcing it,
Yeah,
because
I
he
will.
was out of control. In
This
a good
this
way.
has got to change.
Yeah.
You know,
It seriously sounded like a wrestling WWE announcer.
That's awesome.
I'm like, gosh, there's a party going on in there.
My great granddaughter, the other twin, the one twin is the new ASB president for Chinook. The other one was picked, that she goes to Inspire, that school.
Oh.
And she was picked for the Bella Voce choir. You have to,
Wow.
and they sang the national anthem at the Tacoma Dome
Oh.
last Thursday.
Did you get to go or did you?
No,
did
I
they
was
video?
no,
Oh,
I was
you
in.
were at the depot.
Yeah, I was.
Dang it.
I know I was at Birch Bay.
Oh, Birch Bay. That's the
That's all right. They're gonna go again. Then I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Was it filmed or anything?
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, so you might go, yeah. Aw.
Yeah, they sound really good.
That's what we need, is some good choirs to come and sing for the holiday market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I used to do that too.
You were on choir? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, now I'm saying.
Long time ago. Now I have the bass. Did you know the person that set the lowest bass note ever was a woman? Yep, just this year.
Was it like a contest?
No, it was just a contest.
I asked if he's
They-
gonna make
they
it
do
and
that
he
every
said,
now
"I'm
and then."
trying," so you may have to begin.
Interesting. It's so low that you almost can't hear it.
Yep, and the attorney reviewed it.
You know, it's amazing though, because like, sometimes when you hear people talking and the tone of their voices, it does not sound like how they sing.
Cyndi Lauper.
Like my husband has a Zimmer voice, but when he sings, it's not low at all. It's very middle.
Yeah, it was
Middle
Tenor.
range. He can go high, he can go low, but yeah, very tenor. But you would think that it would be low,
Mm-hmm.
the way he talks. Yeah.
Yeah, I I can go though.
Yeah.
I used to do that going into fast food restaurants, because the girls working behind, they would get all blushy.
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta learn for it.
I can go high and low, but it does sound good. It's probably a made up no.
No, I can probably still sing pretty well.
Is there dates for that yet, or no?
Dates for construction?
Yeah.
I did.
When you could sing, or like,
You gotta wait like
anthems at like the VFW stuff.
14 days
Good.
minimum. 14 days.
Okay, and they have to remove quite
I
a bit of
don't.
trees.
And I don't drink anymore, so I won't.
Microphone down.
Not to be annoying.
Sorry.
Welcome to the September 26th City Council meeting. All the members are present with the exception of Jason Lawton. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have an agenda that needs approval.
Do we need to adjust it for Jason Lawton not being here?
I believe so.
Okay, move to adjust the agenda to reflect that Jason Lawson's not here because of illness.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have the meeting minutes from,
Wait, we still have to approve the agenda. I move we approve the agenda as presented.
do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have meeting minutes from 9/12/2023.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the meeting minutes from September 12th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have a consent calendar consisting of September 13th through September 26th, 23. Payroll EFTs in the amount of $47,663.03 and checks 31,775 through 31,809 in the amount of $47,256.42 for a grand total of $94,928.45. Cannabis, liquor and cannabis license nuns. Fee waiver request for THS and the PTA for homecoming parade and trunk or treat.
Move approval.
Second.
Can we also add Lawton's absence on the consent calendar?
We just did it on the agenda.
We did it on the agenda approval, but it needs to go on consent.
Okay.
Sorry.
And the excused absence of council member Jason Lawton.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have no executive session presentations. Is Dan going to do a presentation?
No, I don't.
No, no present.
Do you want to do a presentation? I have you down to talk about the resolution and the.
That's when I should talk.
Okay.
Okay. No presentations, public comments. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to make public comments, you have 3 minutes. Please come to the podium and state your name and address. Since we don't have any public hearings, none, proclamations, none, old business. The managed service agreement for Right Systems.
Motion to approve.
Do you want me to
Yes, please.
Okay.
So this is an agreement with Right Systems, who is our city tech support. They do City Hall, Public Works, I mean, every city facility, the police department, all of them. This is that grant that we've applied for. We've made it through phase 1. We're 99.9% sure we're going to receive this award. Right Systems has worked with many cities. Most recently, Shelton received $3 million to do a whole upgrade to their system. Ours is only $60,000, so not quite as big as theirs. But yeah, this is what that agreement will do. It's just going to get the ball rolling on all of getting. I mean, it's a long process for them to start working on it. So
Thank you. That was the Right Systems.
Need a second? I made a motion.
Second.
We have a second and a motion.
Motion.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Good job, Linda. All right. Where are we at now?
All the reports have been.
Oh, everything's done? I'll just go home. Okay.
She went through all those.
Did we?
just on new business.
New business, old business, new business, 2024 budget estimates on revenue and preliminary budget. So we're just getting started on this. Kind of hard to really report on anything at this point. So Jen is working with you want to talk?
I don't care. I can't.
Okay.
I did tell them a little bit about that.
That you're gathering data at this point. We have our generally used methods of determining we take some chicken bones and some dice and we throw them out on a table and we kind of read the tea leaves and determine what the revenue is going to look like in 2024. As of yet, we see no big glaring surprises. There's no red flags. I haven't found anything to celebrate yet either. So it looks like we just kind of are moving along as projected or predicted. There was a large increase in building permits, which was nice to see. So we have continued with our development boom of sorts. If you look, we projected that we would get 37,000 in building permits in 2023, and we're actually at 73,000. So that is a nice surprise. And again, those are, we got to be careful with those because those aren't necessarily ongoing revenues. And same with building permits.
It's
Yeah.
on there twice and shouldn't be.
It's on there twice. So we are working through that. We haven't received all of the property taxes yet, of course. And then sales tax is tracking as expected. So, we've brought in so far $284,000 in sales and use tax. We projected we would receive $395,000. So that, that averages out to where we thought, and we kind of get a big bump in the Christmas season. So feel free to take this home and stare at it as you wish. If anyone has any questions or they see anything that jumps out at them that they want to bring to our attention, you can make a phone call, you can send an email.
Just going over this real quick, the taxes that we're getting for homeless, where's that listed?
That comes into sales tax.
So, it's all lumped in together?
Yep,
Taxes we're
Maybe
getting for what? I didn't understand.
for the housing.
Maybe we should separate that out. This way it
It-
doesn't get commingled and spent like that.
Of course. Okay.
Wayne, I don't know if you have the one that I made. I don't know if you want to get the one that's at Lawton Spot passed to you, because you might have the one that.
I have the one with my chicken scratch on
Yeah,
it.
And I did some changes.
Oh, okay.
I was telling Linda on the, where it says, what did I tell you, the court?
Oh, it's on page,
4, isn't it?
One more over, I think.
Distracted driving.
Yes.
It's on page
Where it
4.
says distracted driving, it looks like the revenues
front
are way
page.
up, but some of the
That's, some of these numbers are what the state gives us based on permits and based on their projections.
Okay, so it's not our projections then?
Yeah, so
Okay.
this is what we predicted, what they told us at the beginning of the year we would get,
Yeah,
and this is what we've actually brought in so far.
yeah.
So then, you know, a lot of times we'll look at the previous years and we'll do an average.
See, and
On
most
page
things
4.
I would say that's a good idea. The problem is with gambling, when times get tough, gambling goes up.
Okay.
Alcohol goes up.
Okay. But we,
We can't
and we would
really-
tend to stay on the conservative
Yeah.
side
Yeah,
and
we-
not try to speculate.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
No, good catch.
The other one that she was telling me is on page 4, distracted driving.
Distracted driving.
One more page. Nope, it's up
Next one?
more.
It's up above here.
Okay. And what am I looking at?
Distracted driving.
Oh yeah, something's not right there.
Yep, we
Yeah.
found the issue, we're working on it at City Hall.
Okay. Yep.
Should be, it actually septic receiving tax that was coded incorrectly.
Oh,
So
okay.
that will go up as well.
Okay.
But then projecting next year, if we're taking less septage, we'll lose on that, but also we'll get more for the pool, you know,
Okay.
and the Quarry House, yeah. Yeah, because the Quarry House was only rented half the year, essentially.
Cool. All right. So if you take that and chew on it, let us know. You guys did you talk about the sculpture?
No,
Wasn't that on new business?
it's,
Read about
is,
it.
but we haven't,
We're just getting into
we're
it.
just
Okay.
getting into new business.
Oh, I don't see it on here.
Oh,
Oh, that's,
That's an old
I print-
agenda.
I printed that at home,
All right.
but you can use this.
Stealing all your stuff.
That's okay.
New business. Next item is number 6, steel sculpture. This is a donation proposal from Mr. Bill Wilson. Oh, I should have grabbed that on the way in. Who is a sculptor. You should all have some pictures in your. What's going on? Oh,
oh, there it is. Oh,
There's multiple bands.
so this is pretty cool. It's a very large, 15 feet tall, 8 feet wide. This gentleman is friends with Myrna Orsini, who's part of the Stone Carvers Guild, and she has Monarch Sculpture Park. And she and I have talked for years about finding sculptures in Tenino, and this one's a really cool one. When it's set in place, it'll have stone pouring out of that middle and kind of going into like a rock garden out in front of it. So it's kind of hard to place a value on these things, but the artist wants it displayed somewhere that it fits and it looks nice, that where people can enjoy it. Our responsibility would be removing it from the trailer that he delivers it on, and we would want to put down some type of concrete base that would support the thing, and we could, attach it to safely. And we're right now considering different locations. We kind of think it would look nice amongst trees, kind of based on the way it looks and the way you see it there. So the artist has asked that we, if we do accept the donation, that we bring some possible locations to him, and he would get some possible say in where it goes. So
it's really cool.
it is really cool. It is really cool, and it could be a start of something. So we are. It is not at Monarch Sculpture Park. It's at Mr. Wilson's house. Okay. Yep. So we have not decided on a location. The first step would be we would like a motion from the council to accept the donation of the sculpture.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. So now that we've accepted the donation, we'll let Mr. Wilson know, and then we'll start working on locations, which we'll talk to you guys about, and we might bring some possible locations forward at the next meeting. But ultimately, we want to be able to work something out with the artist because it is also his piece. So we accepted it.
Yeah.
All right, good job. Thank you. Next up, Housing Action Plan Review. Did you guys talk about the Housing Action Plan during the work session?
Not yet.
No.
Okay. At this point, I'd like to ask Mr. Dan Penrose to come up and introduce the Housing Action Plan.
All right, thank you, Mayor, members of council. Dan Penrose, city planner. So tonight before you, we have a review of the Housing Action Plan and a resolution that adopts the findings and accepts the plan. I'll read through a few of the things as far as some context. I'll touch on a few objectives of the Housing Action Plan itself, some of the outreach efforts and some of the summary findings, and then I'd really like to open it up for a bit of questions or dialogue if you have any questions or dialogue about the plan itself prior to the resolution, the review of the resolution. So I hope you had a chance to either get a paper copy of that or review the Planning Commission recommended draft, and if not, I know we can pull it up on the screens as well. So the city of Tenino received a $74,260 commerce grant that was a result of legislation passed in 2019. That's called House Bill 1923. You'll hear a lot about HB 1923 if you haven't already. It's kind of the nomenclature now, and that's the kind of the onset of the state's affordable housing charge and charge not in the money, but as far as a drive towards trying to resolve and solve the affordable housing crisis that we're facing in our state. That bill 1923 was designed to encourage cities to plan under GMA and to complete specific actions that could address housing options and support housing affordability. And SCJ Alliance has been working with the city and Washington State Department of Commerce to complete that review. Housing Action Plan is a tool. It's a plan, and you can see the plan in front of you, and whether paper copy or digital, that has strategies and actions within the plan that promote greater housing diversity, affordability, and access to opportunity for residents of all income levels. It's just an early step that's designed to gather and analyze data and community input that will save the city time and effort once we move into adopting and reviewing and adopting the comprehensive plan during the periodic update process. So it's kind of for Tenino, it worked out really nicely because we can do some of the front end work on the housing chapter vis-a-vis the Housing Action Plan using the Commerce Grant money, and then turn around and roll some of those findings as directed into the housing element. So this is a standalone piece to the comprehensive plan. It's not a part of the comprehensive plan. It's a strategy action plan, much like you would have in if you had an economic development plan, or if you had some strategies on addressing homelessness, or if you wanted to have a transportation plan that talked about beautification of the downtown core. All of those could be complementary to the comp plan, but wouldn't necessarily be in the comp plan. The good thing about the Housing Action Plan, it provides a variety of community initiatives that encourage the provision of housing at prices attainable to all residents, both now and in the future, and it identifies the most acute housing needs and has some tools in there to address some of those challenges. The main objectives of the Housing Action Plan was to increase the supply and variety of housing to serve certain identified household segments, reduce displacement. That's what happens, when low-income residents are kind of squeezed out of certain areas due to, escalation of costs and so that's one. The idea is to ensure opportunities for affordable housing across residents at all income levels. The market does a pretty good job of providing for certain levels and doesn't do anything for other levels. And encourage development of a variety of housing types to create diversity in the community. Many communities in the state have an aversion to certain types of housing, what is commonly called the missing middle. And so, City of Olympia and City of Lacey and a number of other places have kind of used and kind of co-opted that term. It was really a term created outside of the state, but it's pretty familiar now within the state. And I can talk about missing middle if you like, but it's really the difference between, it's that middle segment between detached single family home and large apartment complexes, kind of garden style, 230 or whatever units surrounded by parking and carports. There's that middle bracket of homes that just don't really get built all that much. So cottage style homes, smaller homes, duplexes, triplexes, townhouses, row houses. I say condominiums, but that's more of a monetary kind of a lending apparatus. It's not quite, condos are just like apartments that are owned individually. So that missing middle really is missing across our state. And so you either have a lot of money and you can buy a detached single family house, or you don't have a lot of money and you're in the apartment complex, and there's not a lot in between. And so what we're trying to do is break down that accessibility challenge by making sure that our development codes and our land has opportunity for those other types of densities and units in the residential setting. I'll go through here really quickly the public engagement plan. I did this during the Planning Commission, and I'll do it now because I want to reflect. I want to at least have in the record how much kind of public engagement we did do. So we kicked off the Planning Commission effort in January of 2022. We had community interviews with a number of stakeholders, real estate agents, school district, business owners, Habitat for Humanity, other nonprofits, some church organizations, to kind of assess from them and address what they saw as the housing challenges in Tenino. And that happened in August of 2022. We provided the Planning Commission with a housing needs assessment update on December 14th. That is Appendix A of your document, so they saw that last December. We began working on strategies in work sessions in January and February of this year. In spring, the Planning Commission had a full review of the draft housing action plan, and on July 25th, we issued a SEPA DNS determination and did public notice to let SEPA is required for a plan like this that has GMA impacts. It's a programmatic SEPA. And then we had a joint local and state comment period between July 25th and August 16th. And then on August 16th, we had a Planning Commission public hearing. And at that public hearing, there were a handful of people who did make some testimony. Their testimony was to two things. One was on heights there was this heights of structures. There was a proposal that was at one point contemplated to be considered that same evening, but it ended up not being considered that evening. It was pulled from the calendar. But people can speak whatever they want during the public hearing, so they chose to speak on heights in the downtown core. And then the second piece that they spoke to is felt like there was a lack of public engagement on the housing action plan. So the response to the second part of that is that some public engagement was done for a housing action plan. We didn't do a survey of the community or have a widespread community effort for the housing action plan because we're at the kind of on the front end of the comp plan. And so we are going to do a much more robust engagement effort with the citizens and residents of Tenino this fall and into next year. A little bit this fall, it might be a little more tactile or a little more technology driven, so perhaps a survey, but not necessarily a bunch of in-person stuff because it gets dark and wet and cold, and then there's the holidays. But probably early spring, so maybe March, we'll start doing a few more things to gain people's insights on land use and transportation and utilities and climate change issues and housing. And so basically I told the commenters, I hear you that you feel like you weren't involved until the very end. I think you're going to get your big chance to be involved as part of the comp plan update. So the Planning Commission did make a recommendation that The city council approved the housing action plan at that meeting. And so that's kind of where we're at now. I could speak a little bit to some of the big findings in the housing action plan. I don't want to belabor the point if you've read it and you have no questions. I guess some of the easiest things to really summarize for you, because I won't blame you if you haven't read the whole thing, because it is somewhat big. But I think the key is, especially as we move into the comprehensive plan update and the periodic update, is Tenino is an attractive place for people to consider living, and it's especially attractive as the urbanized Central Puget Sound population pushes southward. And I think you've all probably lived in this area long enough to start to see that gap fill in between Tumwater and Grand Mound, and I think we're going to continue to see that shrink. The county is already looking at what to do along the I-5 corridor. So it makes sense to me that Tenino will continue to grow. Tenino's population is pretty young, considering slightly younger than the countywide average. We're quite a bit older than, say, Yelm, and that there's good reasons for that as well. But I think you're going to see a lot more families wanting to move into Tenino, the tight-knit community, the small town, the walkable streets, the safe environment. So we see quite a bit of demand for Tenino in the next 20 years. So we use TRPC numbers as well as HUD, Housing Urban Development numbers, and census numbers. The last census, if you weren't aware, the 2020 census was really challenging as far as the data was concerned, because it's the middle of COVID. And so when the Census Bureau knocks on your door and says, I want to ask you about who's living at your house, and it's in the middle of a pandemic, I can understand why people ask you to go away. So the numbers in the census are not as robust as they usually are, but we do know enough when we kind of can push things together on a 5-year rolling average on some of the other numbers. And then TRPC is doing fantastic work at the regional level to kind of track that stuff. And so we put that together. We have a pretty good handle on how Tenino's growing. So there's just shy of 2,000 people who live in Tenino right now. And as Councilmember O'Callahan said earlier, we are expecting about 700 additional people within the next 20 years into Tenino. So the question is you can kind of back that and figure out, of those, say, 2,800 people who are planning to move or who will be in town in 2040, how many residential units is that? And so we can back that in, and I believe the number, if my math serves me here, is 396 units, because there's usually more than one person per unit, but not 5 people per unit, right? So just shy of 400 units is what we need to find room for in the city in the next 20 years. So any ideas of where that's coming from? Sort of rhetorical. I mean, there's generally some infill, but I mean, that's a lot of units. And if you're trying to build on 10,000 square foot lots, which is just a little bit under a quarter-acre lots, you're going to run out of land pretty quick for 400 units. So we've got to think about where people are going to move and where they're going to be. So that feeds really easily, really nicely into the housing discussion that will occur at the time of the comp plan update. And it's kind of a land use discussion as well, as where are those folks going to be? What opportunities will they have for different housing styles? One of the outcomes of the housing action plan is the ADU provisions. That's accessory dwelling units. So that's kind of what we used to call mother-in-law, units. And I don't know why they stopped calling them that, but maybe not. Yeah, maybe there's a good reason for that. So those ADUs are now allowed by right. You're allowed to put up an ADU on your property if you have the room for it. And in some places in the state, there's also duplexes by right, and so that not in this county because of the way the legislation was written, but the state's definitely moving to more statewide requirements as to what you have to allow on the residential density side. It used to be no less than 4 units an acre. Like if you're trying to do half-acre lots in a city, you're going to get challenged under the Growth Management Hearings Board, and you'll have to go tell the state why you think that's urban level of density. Now it's going to be more where the state legislature and the rule writers have explained how it's going to be, you know, certain use types and units that are allowed by right. So that's kind of what's on the horizon. We know there's a shortage of low-income housing, senior housing, and nursing homes in the city. I think that's pretty consistent across the region and across the state. There wasn't a lot in the way of the numbers in that regard that was surprising, but a lot of the things that need to be done, we're already doing. We already have language in our development codes to allow for a variety of housing types. We allow for missing middle. We allow for cottage-style homes, which are like homes that are all clustered around kind of a central plaza. We allow that. We allow mixed uses. You know, in the downtown core, you're allowed to have a business and a residential unit in the same building. So there's a lot of things Tenino's already doing that the plan, you know, recommends. There's a few things we can do to reduce the burden on the development community, but those have to be done, you know, cautiously, because if you waive SEPA for example, in Yelm, I believe SEPA is not required for anything less than 18, I think. I mean, don't quote me on that, but it's right around there. It's a big number. The state average, the mandatory limit is four dwelling units is a short plat, and that's exempt from SEPA. When you exempt someone from SEPA, you also can kind of get out of requiring them to do certain types of frontage improvements, certain sidewalks, you know, certain things like that. Those things are waived. So our neighbor to kind of the east there says even things that are 18 units, an 18-unit subdivision may not have to do SEPA. So I'm not suggesting we go that far, but there's probably good grounds for making a different decision on where the SEPA thresholds are at, because it's an added delay and an added regulatory burden on those smaller developments. So did I lose you guys on that, or does that make sense? Good. So there's a handful of other things in the plan. I'd be happy to highlight. I think really as we tried to develop the plan and hit the findings right away. So the findings are generally found in the first handful of pages, say the first 9 pages. It's probably worthwhile to talk a little bit about cost burden households. You'll hear about this thing called AMI, that's area median income. That means in our county, in our region, what is, you know, when you stack all the people and all the households together, how much do they make, and how does that kind of bracket out from the people at the highest end to the lowest end. And that's how the government defines, that's the poverty, you know, the poverty setting is AMI. So if you are at a certain level for the region, if you're less than 50% of that AMI, you are called it's called severely cost burdened. If you're in the 30 to 50% range, it's called cost burdened, and anything above 50% is not cost burdened. So if your area median income is $100,000 and you're only making 30, and so your purchasing power is 30% of what the rest of the competitors who are looking for houses, apartments, jobs, cars, etc., groceries, then you're on the bottom end of that spectrum. So we're trying to the way that the housing language in the legislature in 1923 is, you have to look to try to accommodate housing in all these different bands. So the severely cost burden band, the cost burden band, and the not cost burden band. So that's the kind of the point of the housing action plan, is you're looking for ways that you can make sure that you're allowing for a variety of sizes and densities and cost of residential product. And that can be challenging, because Tenino doesn't run a housing development, right? And most places don't. And so the market doesn't magically provide housing for people who aren't going to pay for the housing. That's just not how it works. And so candidly, that's the big rub with where the state's at, is they haven't gotten enough development density on the lower spectrum to provide for people who can't get into the 50% or more AMI homes. And so then we have this crunch where the people are housed in spots that aren't appropriate for their household size or their situation.
Okay.
So there's a lot in here. I think at the end of the day, we've got some good strategies and actions in here that'll lead into the comprehensive plan update. So I'd be happy to. Hope that was a decent little overview and provides a little slice of what the document gets at. Happy to answer whatever questions you might have.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Penrose?
Nobody? Nobody? Okay.
Is your mic on?
Not yet.
Okay.
There you go. Can you hear me? Okay, I've got several questions here. I'm not sure which one to really start with. This first one is just basically a statement. When I first became a member of the Transportation Policy Board in '96, I also became part of what's called the Vision Reality workforce, which we received national acclaim for. Nobody had ever done what we've done before by asking, literally sitting down, having something to eat with, first off, just general residents to find out what they're looking for, and then the building community, and then the banking to see how it all fit. And what you're seeing now in Lacey, Olympian, and Tumwater is what we looked at, 25 years ago? A long time ago, longer than that. God, I've been here a little while. But anyway, it's taken that long, and at that point, it was called MUC back then, mixed use, and it's almost looking like it's starting to work. For example, on 6th Street, there's those new apartments over there, and they got that hot dog stand. That's maybe working. We're not quite sure how that's going to turn out, because it's the only one that has a business. Next door, there's those apartments. And talking about affordability, I worked in those apartments for Comcast years ago, getting each one of those apartments set up for Comcast. And they started out for one bedroom at $600. You can't touch them now for $600. You know, you say, well, they were $600, they're gonna laugh at you. Yeah, when they first opened up. So affordability is to me, in my experience, is something that nobody on the political end can actually identify. It's something that is a mortgage-based issue. For example, if you're spending 30% of your income on housing, you start spending more than that, you're getting into dangerous financial grounds. Has anybody here looked at that for Tenino? And the reason I ask is because Tenino is, as you know, night and day for North County. Last time I asked, we had 9 lots available left for any kind of development. Now, I don't know if I heard that right, but that's what I could have sworn I heard, is that we have only 9 lots. So how much building space do we actually have? Not counting places like on Lincoln Street, where they're finally demolishing that house that nobody's lived in since I've lived here. So that's one.
Yeah, so there's a good amount of housing inventory information in the housing needs analysis, which I believe starts at, that's item 7, I see. So if you're looking at your packet, your agenda packet, it would be like PDF page 142, but it's also under the housing characteristics section of your housing needs analysis. I did have us run a land analysis for the city, because we were curious about how many adjacent properties there were, and I can probably find this if you give me a little bit of time. I think
Okay.
one of the most interesting.
You can get the answer later, not a problem.
One of the most interesting things about the stock in Tenino is it's relatively affordable compared to the rest of the county. So the reasons for that is it's old. It's older than most of the county, and it's smaller than most of the county. So I mean, look at the stuff off of Wichman, and there's homes that have, that were built in the early 20th century that are in this community, and they're small and they're not on permanent foundations or cinder block foundations, and so those are going to be rented and purchased and sold for less than a home that was built in 1985 and has a split level or whatever. So there's reasons for some of that affordability. You don't want to be affordable for the wrong reasons, right? You don't want to have a bunch of shanty shacks and that's why people can buy it. I mean, that's not the idea. The idea is to have quality and affordable, and that's, I think, what you're getting at is the rub between the mortgage market, the purchasers, who's buying these homes up. In different places, there's different pressures. You're not on the I-5 corridor, so you have less pressure from someone who says, is driving to Kent every day, which there's plenty of people in Lacey who drive to Kent. And there's plenty of people in East County who work at JBLM and have a whole different, approach to purchasing homes because of the veterans' benefits that they get with purchasing homes and also their housing allowance. So those aren't the issues here, but the issues you have here is bedroom community to the state capital campus core and the purchasing power of those and the people who are driving, and then just the limited new stock in town.
Thank you. Do you have another question,
Yeah.
Councilmember Carolina?
Yeah, not a problem. Since you ask. Okay, the growth that you're projecting, and I'm not disagreeing with the projections because we're only looking at about 700-800 more people to live here. But are you using today's information to project out that far? How are you getting your projections?
Yeah, the housing projections were based on a combination of the ACE, the American Community Survey information from the 2020 census and a 5-year rolling estimate. So even though I mentioned that the census itself was challenging as far as the data that it gives us, that it usually gives us a lot of data and it didn't give us as much data as it used to because of the COVID challenges. So we have that rolling 5-year average, which is kind of an ongoing process that American Community Service has, and the TRPC numbers based on housing starts, stops, demolitions, and new construction.
Okay.
One of the things that I'm noticing, and you and I spoke about it when I came to see you, is we've got all kinds of regulations from the state and the federal government and the county all starting to do battle with each other. Whose rules are going to supersede what this jurisdiction is going to be able to do? How much of that is going to be a problem for us as time goes forward?
Yeah, I think quite a bit. I mean, I think there's, the more regulations you have, the more difficult it is to balance all of the competing interests.
Okay. How's the pocket gopher going to fit into all of this? Because I heard that there's new rules for the pocket gopher. I just haven't heard what they are.
I haven't heard what they are either. I'd like to meet one of these pocket gophers. So I've seen the same 3 pictures. Mm-hmm. They're pretty reclusive little characters. But as you know, there's lots of pocket gophers in West Tenino, or the property that's zoned as West Tenino, and designated and documented habitat for those creatures. So much the fact that the state bought up, a good portion of the Alpacas of America site for conservation purposes for park. And so all of that land that was designated for residential in the previous comp plan is now no longer viable for residential. So you're going to have to take that development capacity and apply it somewhere else.
Which is something else that I was going to ask about, so thank you for leading into that. Growth. One of the things that I've been watching over the last couple of years, I don't know, maybe you've heard it, especially since you're in this kind of work, is the 15-minute cities.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going to work for Tenino, since most of the work that people have are outside of the city limits, which is more than 15 minutes away.
Yeah, let me answer that by way of pointing us to
Because
section.
Seattle right now is working on plans for a 15-minute city.
Yeah, so could you explain what that is real quick? I know what it is, but,
From what I understand, a 15-minute city is you live within a 15-minute walk of where you work. Now, if you can take a bicycle and get there faster, that's fine, but it's basically based on your ability to walk 15 minutes to your place of employment.
yeah. So I would direct your attention to, I was sort of stolen, so I could find my page here. 152 of the council packet is the diagram on commuting patterns in Tenino. This is through something called Census on the Map tool, and what it looks like is people who are employed in Tenino and work in Tenino, people who are employed in Tenino but live somewhere else, and people who live in Tenino and are employed somewhere else, right? So those are the three variables. Live here, work here, live here, commute, or commute to here and live somewhere else. So those numbers are pretty interesting, and as you might expect, most of the people who live in Tenino don't work in Tenino, right? There's not 1,400 jobs here. There's a couple hundred jobs. And so we're showing on that figure, and maybe you could switch it, Jen, if you could switch that slide to like 152, something like that. Yeah, you're getting close. You might have passed it.
Nope.
There you go, right there. That little that guy right there. That's the diagram I'm speaking to. So you can see that the circle in the middle is the people who live here and work here, and then you got 442 people commuting in from somewhere else, and then you have 652 people who live here who are driving somewhere else. We can assume those 652 are probably working at state jobs or somewhere else in the region. The question is, and that's always going to happen. The question is why are there people who live elsewhere driving into Tenino? I bet those are people who, if they had a choice, they may choose to live in Tenino. So one of the best things I believe about Tenino is your grid street pattern and your ability to walk a variety of routes to get somewhere. If you've seen development patterns that occurred in the 70s and 80s in other cities in our county, where you have a cul-de-sac or you have kind of roundabout sort of pathways through residential subdivisions, you can't walk anywhere without cutting through someone's backyard. That's the shortest route. Here in Tenino, in the downtown core in particular, you can get to the school, the grocery store, the post office, the hardware store, the pharmacy, all within less than a 15-minute walk if you live in the core. So I think you have a lot more opportunity for a 15-minute city than most places in the region. And the Planning Commission, when they've had conversations about where do we build, because knowing and recognizing that West Tenino is not available for 800 units like we had thought it would be, where do you want to do it? They've expressed to me that they want to see it mostly done through infill development. So when we go out to the public and when we talk to you about how Tenino grows to that 2,800 from 2,000, where do those 800 people live? That's the conversation we have. How do you want to grow? Where do you want this development to occur? Because we need to accommodate for it. That's our charge through growth management. And so we can calculate how much can be accommodated in different development densities within the town core. There'll probably still have to be a little bit of something on the edges, but those are all discussions that are kind of ripe to be had.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
I can, but we'll stop.
Okay. You can always follow up with questions to Mr. Penrose by email, or you can submit them to Jen. Any further comments?
I don't think so.
Thank
Okay, thank you. So at this point, under new business, we're asking council review and make a motion to approve the housing action plan. Do I have a motion to approve the housing action plan?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I know a lot of work went into this, but I have just way too many questions. And how much is this going to lock future councils into one thing or another, which is something that we're not supposed to do, or do our best to try not to lock other councils into. So at this point, I cannot support this.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No?
I heard 1 aye, 2 noes. Is that an abstention, or are you?
2 ayes.
2 ayes, 1 no.
2 ayes, 2 noes.
2 ayes, 2 no. I will provide the winning vote. So motion passes. That brings us to resolutions. This is resolution 2023-09, adopting the housing action plan by resolution. Whereas on October 28th, 2021, the city is awarded a state fund grant of $74,260 from the Washington State Department of Commerce under the authority granted by Chapter 39.34 RCW for development of a housing action plan. Read the first sentence and the last. And whereas the City Council finds that the city has complied with the substantive, it's one of those words, procedural and notice requirements for this action, and that it is in the best interest of the city and its residents to approve the City of Tenino Housing Action Plan. Now, therefore, the City of Tenino City Council, Washington, hereby resolves as follows: that it is the intent of the Tenino City Council that the recitals set forth above are hereby adopted and incorporated as findings in support of this resolution. That the Planning Commission's recommendation is hereby adopted and ratified by the Tenino City Council as its decision herein. The City Council adopts the recommendation of the Planning Commission as its own herein. That the City Council, after reviewing all the evidence of the Planning Commission's recommendation, hereby approves and accepts the City of Tenino's Housing Action Plan dated August 13th, 2023. Therefore, the City Council hereby resolves and declares that the above described rate plan serves the City of Tenino. We have a motion to approve the Housing Action Plan ordinance.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Again, I understand it's just a plan, but there's just too many questions that I have.
Okay. Noted, and most of the heavy lifting will be done during the comp plan process, as Mr. Penrose explained, so stay attentive. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Me?
I have 1 aye, 2 nays. Did you vote?
2 ayes.
2 ayes. Again, I will provide the tie-breaking vote in the affirmative. Motion passes. Thank you.
You don't get to do that much.
No. Okay, it might be the first time ever.
No, second.
Second?
Yeah, you did it one other time.
Oh, man. All right, that brings us to public comment period number 2. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to provide public comment, now's your opportunity to do so. I see no one in the audience. Stepping up. Announcements. We have no announcement.
Saturday, our banner unveiling.
Saturday, the banner unveiling at 11 o'clock.
Yes.
The Creative Arts District will be unveiling its the banner program. That was the one where we had the art contest, and all the banners were made in metal by a local artist, and they turned out fantastic. So look forward to that unveiling.
Mine's not really an announcement, but I just wanted to thank the Chief of Police. He came to Little Seeds Preschool today. He's also coming on Friday. Today he had my smaller class. On Friday he's going to have about 34-year-olds. all 3 classes.
Awesome. The chief
So-
loves kids.
It's our Community Helper Month, so we visited the fire department, now it's the police department, and because everyone thought he was so cool, I have 3 students that now want to be police
Oh,
officers.
wow.
So,
Do they want a tour of the wastewater treatment plant?
yeah, yes, they probably would.
They probably would.
But I want to
This is poop,
keep in
kids.
mind, the 3-year-olds have Community Helper Month later on in the year, and so it would be lovely to maybe have like Public Works come out,
That would be cool.
something like that. More community helpers that are local community.
Go in the
helpers.
backhoe, let the
Yeah.
kids touch the
So
backhoe.
I'll let you guys know when the
Okay,
girls
yeah,
get-
thank you. All right, meeting adjourned.
Non-debatable motion.